So for a couple months now, there's been one horror game that has completely taken control of the internet, Lethal Company. So many people love this game as it's both hilarious and terrifying to see your friends try to pick up some scrap metal at one moment and then be eaten alive by a ginormous titan the very next. This is just one of those games that it's so fun to pick up with friends and play for a couple hours without needing to understand the main story. However, although you and your crew are tasked with only two simple objectives throughout the entire game, that is collecting enough scrap and also not dying, all for a mysterious company that you never heard of, there actually seems to be more than what meets the eye within Lethal Company. Secrecy, paranoia, and even talks of a golden planet being swept underneath the rug is all hinted at. And even though Lethal Company was released a few months ago and is still currently in an early access state, through the help of one deceased crew's logs, we're actually able to piece together what is seemingly a very dark story. A story that explains not only why you need to pick up what seems to be useless scrap metal, but also how not doing so could cause all life in the universe to perish. In this video, I'll be discussing how even though at first glance it seems like you and your friends are just pawns in the greater picture, you all are actually the most important people to have ever existed.
Date, August 22nd, 1968. Hello, I'm writing this log to keep myself sane. I couldn't find a way to do the most basic thing on this old janky butt computer, so I had Desmond add it in. The log feature. Till now I've just been adding my own notes in the bestiary, whatever I know. My brother said I should keep a journal, so I'm doing what I can. I am writing in a professional manner, as these logs could become a historical record, as they will probably be here for years, just as long as there isn't a clean wipe. That is what Desmond said. If you're reading this in the future, you're probably from another crew. The turnover rate here is enormous, maybe because the job sucks and everyone turns over dead. Maybe I can give some help when I have some experience. End log. Oh, our names are...
As you enter and start the game, you're placed in an extremely condensed spacecraft that has practically nothing, not even a toilet to do your own business. All it has is a 4-person bunk bed to sleep in the most prison-like way. There's some cameras to let you see the outside of the ship next to a navigator that is solely autopiloted, meaning that you have no free ability to traverse through space manually. There's also a very outdated computer that, although lets you pick what moon to go to next, lets you purchase some items to help you out, and even purchase some upgrades for the ship later on, it restricts you from doing practically anything else. What's really interesting about this computer though is a couple things. When you first use it, you get asked a set of personal questions that no matter how you answer it, has no repercussions and is never brought back up again. Finally, there's clothing options to give no variety whatsoever, and always starts off with an orange color suit that strangely resembles that of a prison jumpsuit. Obviously, just from the entire setup of the spaceship, the company has no regard for any of their employees here, as they won't last long enough to be even recognized more than a tool waiting to die, including you. During your time employed here, the company has given you your one and only task, scavenge. On one of the monitors by the navigator, you'll see that you have a quota to make every 3 days. You can make this quota by landing on one of 8 moons offered on the computer, going to seemingly abandoned research stations, collecting different randomized objects, and then selling it at what is known to be the company building. Almost every single research station you go to looks the exact same, but in just different environments. To say that they're out of place would be an understatement. Tall, gray concrete blocks dimly lit by very cold lights that contradicts the warm-looking sunlight that beats down onto every single planet. Every place will have a minimum of 2 doors, one being a main entrance and the others being fire exits, and when you enter the research station, you're met with dark, long hallways. The walls and floors are either made up of the same gray concrete as from the outside or from rusted metal. It's clear that these places have not been inhabited by humans in quite some time, years in fact. These places are highly unusual, but that's not all, as the scrap that you're required to collect are also very unusual as well. These could range anywhere from toy robots to nuclear reactors. You're even able to collect hives in the wild that belong to what are called circuit bees. It's very strange why these random objects are in research stations on numerous moons of all places, and it's even stranger that these are the objects that you need to collect to sell to the company. What's similar between these objects, however, is that they all include some sort of metal.
Gosh, this suit is squeezing me like I'm a gosh damn mummy. I'm a grown man. Give it some space between the legs. It's killing me. I'm dying. I hope you're happy, Dad. I finally got a job. Screw you. Everyone here smells, especially Rich. I'm going to throw him in the lake. I don't care what it's made of. I love being on camera duty. Oh, I forgot the date. It's August 24th, 1968. This keyboard has... Today we found a couple of frying pans and a big nail, worth almost nothing. What is the company even using it for?
Once you and your crew have collected enough scrap metal, you can head over to the company building to sell everything. Upon landing down, the company building looks even more dreary than any research station that you can go to. The outside area will constantly stay dark as opposed to the day-night cycle that is everywhere else. You'll never see the sun here. Maybe it's because you're on the outer edge of the universe where light cannot reach. But why? The entire building is also stilted on an endless ocean, meaning that there is nothing else in sight. No land nearby, no other buildings, just this. The company building itself is also just another concrete block like the other research stations. However, unlike the other places that you can enter, this building is incredibly tall and has no entrance other than a window that you can place your items into. Obviously, because you're supposed to sell your items here, there is some sort of human life on this moon. Or is there? If there were other humans here, why is the building locked off for nobody to enter or leave?
We got in the swing of things the past few days. That's what Rich keeps saying. He smells like a rancid tuna can. Worst summer camp I've ever been on. The date is August 27, 1968. We make sure someone always has a shovel for bashing anything that moves, and we always put someone on camera duty so they can open these big security doors with letters and numbers. Ask Desmond the Wizard how that works. I think he just types the code that's on the door. That's it. We sold some goods to the company today at 70% value. I got my nerves chill listening to the fucking psychotic sounds from behind the counter. No one else gave any. Can't ignore that. My flashlight didn't even go back there. The beam just went dark. I talked to the voice on the walkie-talkie. It was like part of the screams. He told me the Golden Planet actually existed. It's not a legend. And he told me it didn't just hit a meteor. He said the planet was swallowed up by the beast, and they were in its body being digested. I asked what the beast is, and he said he didn't know. He just said it ate the planet and they forgot everything. I couldn't get him to stop talking, but I said he was on the other side of a big wall and I could get him out. I said he was inside the building, and that's when he started freaking out. I couldn't make out a word. I think he said something about spitting out the rinds, so I just turned it off. What a whack. Jess says that the Golden Planet is just a story. I said, I know, I'm not an idiot. Well, she said I should quit, and she quits if I do, so she's staying.
During the 3 days that you're supposed to reach the quota, you're able to freely sell your items. If you want, you can collect a massive amount of scrap on the first day, head over to the company building, and sell everything in bulk. I don't recommend this though, as the company will give you a return rate per day. Every day, until the very last day, the rate will fluctuate between 30 to 70%. On the final day, every single time, the return rate will stay constant at 100. For a company that has employed you for the sole purpose of collecting scrap, it's weird why they would punish you for selling the scrap before the quota is due. There's no definite reason for this, the company themselves would never explain why this is, but really, it's almost as if collecting and selling scrap early on is a punishment to your crew. You won't make as much unless you sell on the final day, so all in all, it's just best to hold on to what you have and sell at the very last minute to make most of what you have. Be careful though, as the bell that you have to ring to finalize the sale of your scrap isn't always a safe thing to ring. There's always an impending chance that whenever you ring the bell, a loud groan can be heard from the outside of the wall. It kind of sounds like the groan of a person if you try to wake them up, only it's definitely not a person. Apart from the groaning, however, there's another chance that ringing the bell could cause some massive tentacles to pop up out of the window and consume the poor, unfortunate soul that's in its way. Even if this doesn't happen and whatever this thing is just collects your scrap, the hand that collects everything doesn't look recognizable, at least it doesn't look like a human. This area isn't like any of the other buildings that you've been to, and this place definitely isn't a company building that they would like you to believe it is.
Date is August 31st, 1968. I got camera duty again. I hate walking on this moon anyway. Ha ha. Joke's on them. It just started raining. I'm just sitting. Can't sleep on these tiny beds for ants. I've been thinking a lot. I think this job is shady. If you're reading this, you probably got here the same as me. The pay is good. They ran you through their assessment exam on the phone with a weird voice. You signed the contract on the shuttle with the rest of your crew. But the whole time you didn't talk to anyone. The shuttle was autopiloted. I think the voice on the phone was fake. I've had the worst dreams. I think I just want to go back home, but I'm not gonna crawl home, crying and scratching on my dad's front door. That's not his son. That's not Sigurd.
Even though you have 3 whole days to collect as much scrap as you can possibly hold on to, it doesn't mean that the task will be easy. After each time that you reach your quota, the required amount will rise about a couple $100s. The first few times this happens, it's not necessarily an issue. If you have a full crew of 4 people, your first few quotas will be a cakewalk. But then there will always be a moment where you just cannot make it. And when this happens, the company will not be happy. In fact, they will be mad. Very mad. So mad that you'd be given a stern talking to on a PA system hidden away on the ceiling of the ship, and then you're fired. The company you work for has 0 tolerance for any lateness. You have no opportunity to make up the loss. It's either you make the quota or you drift out into space for the rest of your short life. What I find really interesting about failing to reach the quota though is the PA system itself. The voice on the speaker sounds very unnatural, almost as if it's an automated repeated message that's not even voiced by a real person.
Your performance has been deemed below standard. Welcome to our disciplinary process.
You also hear the speaker every time you start up the game, and each time you do, you hear the same welcome speech over and over and over again. Just like how every time you fail, you hear that same speech.
Welcome to your first day on the job. This is your very own autopilot ship, where you will eat and sleep for the duration of your contract. Make yourself at home. To complete the onboarding process, you will want to check the instruction manual and sign into your ship's computer terminal. We trust you will be a great asset to the company. Great asset to the company. Great asset to the company. Great asset.
Maybe to save time and money, the company just made one single speech and went with that every time a new crew came aboard. But I'm still confused on why the voice sounds like this. I mean, the proximity chat between players sounds natural, even the walkie-talkies that you can buy sound natural enough as well. So why does the company have whatever this is talk to you and not a person?
Date, September 4th, 1968. I got woken up early this morning because we were going to the company building to sell our useless garbage. The rate was 120%, which Desmond says is rare, and he didn't want to miss it. He's been watching it like the stupid stocks. It still sucks here. Rich still smells like a piece of shit. I can barely sleep. I heard the worst sound behind the wall of the company building. It sounded like crying red faces all churned up and swept away by concrete, like the pestle and mold my mom crushes up her seeds and spices in. I still hear it. It's a nightmare. No one else heard it. They don't know what to do. Jess thinks I'm homesick. No, I'm sick of this cheap suit.
On top of the quota, there's another threat that you and your crew have to face. This is the wildlife, or what is thought to be the wildlife. In every moon that you go to, there are a handful of creatures that will appear both inside the research stations and outside in the environment. Some of these creatures seem to be native to the environment, like an eyeless dog that can move in packs outside, who, although cannot see, can hear a pin drop from a mile away. Others, though, feel very man-made. There are mannequins that can sometimes appear out of nowhere. These ginormous abominations could only move if the person they are after cannot see them. Then there's also the jack-in-a-box creatures, literal beasts made of man-made toys that when you first find it look cute, but once wound up it'll become extremely deadly and will chase every single person down and kill them unless you leave the building. And then there's what I find the strangest and what makes me to believe that these research stations created or at least tested these monsters. This thing right here. This human-like creature will stalk you and your crew within these research stations, but will flee anytime you give a quick glance at it. But if you look at it for just a hair second longer, then it's going to pounce and eat you alive. And if it does kill you, it drags your lifeless body to this backrooms looking area that it likes to call their home. Why would a research station create a room like this? Was this once a person that unfortunately became this wrinkly skinned flower head man?
We left Rich behind. We just had one room to check, and then we could be done for the day. I couldn't get the door open, and then I looked and Rich wasn't there. It was the fucking wrinkly skinned flowerhead man that walks on its two legs. It turned his neck. I heard the crack, but he wasn't there. I wanted to find Rich even if he was dead, but they are cowards. Their faces are blank like idiots. There's nothing moving in their stupid skulls. All they wanted to do is leave. They were going to leave me too. We all hated Rich, but we didn't want this. This isn't worth it. It's just not worth it. We got a pair of scissors, a box full of stamps, and a bundle of cords to sell for nothing. It's not worth it. What does the company even want it for? The date we last saw Rich is September 7th, 1968. Date, September 13th, 1968. For some reason, I was the one who had to call the company number to report the accident. They were too scared to do it. It was the same fake voice I remember from the interview on the phone at home and the stupid training videos. But it heard what I said, I think, because it said they would contact the family and find a replacement and something else. It talked so fast. I learned that you can hear the screams all the time in the walkie-talkie when you're at the wall of the company building. They didn't believe me. Well, now they do. It sounds just like what I heard a couple of weeks ago. They want to quit. I said I'm not a coward. I just got this job.
After getting the fundamentals of the game, getting the basics down to a T, and understanding your purpose within Lethal Company, you're left with questions that remain unanswered as you collect your next scrap. Who or what is this company that you work for? Why are you collecting scrap in research stations? What are these stations, and what exactly happened here? These are questions that sadly you'll never know the answer to, except there is one. Next to the computer, hidden away on the left side, you can find a little sticky pad that gives you a password of Sigurd. The company never mentioned a Sigurd before, and a written sticky note being on a ship that looks so lifeless and so bland doesn't feel like it was placed here by themselves. Is this maybe a documentation from another crew before you?
Date, September 19th, 1968. The past weekend, it feels like Desmond and Jess woke up. We're supposed to get our fourth member of the crew in a few days. We aren't taking any risks anymore. We don't get as much, but it feels safer. And I've gotten better sleep, but it's still ass. I can still smell Rich. I swear to gosh, he smelled that bad. I was talking about how the voice on the phone sounded fake. Then Desmond got this weird idea. He's a wizard and all, so he thinks there's a way to use the phone call I made to the company building to find out where the voice comes from. I don't know why he would want to do that, but he seems serious. He's been using the terminal a lot.
Typing Sigurd on the computer gives you some access to some logs. Apparently Sigurd is the name of a leader from a crew way past before you came aboard. The first log you find discusses how they were hired just like all of us, with no knowledge of who they're working for and why they're collecting scrap. The date that the logs go back to is 1968, so what year is this game? How long has the company been existent trying to buy scrap from research stations that hold not a single human soul? What's strange is that you're not given many logs. For a person who wanted to let a future crew know about what they knew, there's not much to find within here initially. And if you start a new game and type in the same Sigurd password, you have a chance of the document being corrupted or deleted, almost as if the company found out about this and tried to hide Sigurd's findings. This is not normal by any standards. What is the company really trying to hide from everybody?
September 27th, 1968. Desmond wants me to write down what we figured out and to keep my nonsense to a minimum. So I'm going to put so much of my nonsense. Screw him. The new crew member is named Lucas, and he's so confused and scared all the time. What a baby. At least he doesn't smell like a monster. It's been so sunny even though it's September, and these suits don't take it well. Okay, so Desmond traced the call and found out there's a group of people somewhere else that pretends to call us from the company building. They're across the whole solar system. Why would they be so far away? Desmond says he doesn't know. But I think, what if there really is a big monster in the company building like the voice told me on the walkie-talkie? They trapped it, and we feed it to keep it tame. I just wanted a stupid job!
On each moon, hidden away where no person can stumble upon, you find more logs to add to the Sigurd documentation. There's about one log that goes with each moon. One of these logs that you can find discusses that of a myth about a golden planet. According to the legend that Sigurd written about, the golden planet was a utopia that had gold as far as the eye could see. But one fateful day, a giant monster consumed the entire planet whole, leaving absolutely nothing left. Most people, including the company, would say that this legend is just that. A legend. But what's strange is that once typing in Golden Planet into the computer system, you get an error message stating that the file was corrupted or deleted. Just like how there's a chance if you type in Sigurd, the same thing can happen. At this point, it's definite that the company is keeping something away from the employees. They don't want you to know about a planet or a monster or any of that sort. Another log can be found inside the company building underneath a hatch. Because nobody can go in or out of the building, it doesn't seem like anybody in the company would find this out. But a single log is not the only thing that's down here. You can find another ship of some sort, still under construction and not accessible to use. There's also 2 ports in here that have the same shape as the nuclear reactors you can take from the research stations, and to top it off, there's a giant message written on the ship that states, "Don't tell." This is not a company ship, not by a long stretch. Somebody else made this to try to escape this job and to go home, or to maybe go somewhere else that the company does not want you to be at.
September 30th, 1968. I keep having bad dreams about the company building, where the company breaks out of that giant concrete wall. But I don't know if it looks like anything. I just think it's really big and fast. We can't figure out a way to know if the voices on the phone are real. Desmond says it's too far away. I asked him if he could take control of the autopilot, and he said I'm crazy and that could kill us. Yes, I am crazy, Desmond. He said we would have to get our own private flight to go to the coordinates, and who knows what would actually be there. So what if it's nothing? I started wondering how I can't remember how we really got here. No, I just remember little things like the shuttle flight to the building where we signed our contracts. But I don't remember getting on the shuttle. I don't even remember saying bye to Dad. In my dreams, it feels like the company isn't trapped in there at all. It's just hiding. I don't know if I'm going home.
After reading the logs that are found in the different moons, things start to make more sense. Apparently, Sigurd's crew was able to trace back the calls from the company, and it's confirmed that the company building is not their headquarters. In fact, whoever runs this operation isn't even on this side of the universe. They know that whatever task that you and your crew have been assigned to could not only cause the death of just a few nobodies, but instead maybe all life as we know it. It's clear that the entire mystery of Lethal Company is inside this moon specifically, and after reading the final log from Sigurd, you'll understand that this place is not a company building, instead, a prison.
Desmond, October 3rd, 1968. I am encrypting these logs to keep them hidden, as I fear the system will be wiped if they are found. It's all a guise. We're supposed to think it's all just a transaction, but our real job is keeping an incredible terror fed. How long until its fullness ends, and its hunger is insatiable? God knows. Maybe it all has to do with these desolate moons. Whoever reads this, I am sorry to burden you with this. Please have a good day and night, as what else is there for us to do?
That's right, you haven't been collecting scrap to make some side money for the company, you haven't been trying to scavenge different metallic parts to use as future materials, you're feeding something. And this revelation is not just a wild theory written by a madman. Of course, while reading the logs, you can see how the past crew quickly delved into insanity from this job, but every single time these manic episodes that were written down happened, they related it to the company building itself. And there is solid proof to back up their claims. First and foremost, the return rate for selling the scrap is actually how hungry the beast is. Usually, the first day a new quota is given to you, the return rate is about 30%. The beast has just ate what you had to offer it the day before, so it makes sense why it wouldn't eat as much, but as compared to the final day where it hasn't eaten in some time, of course the return rate is going to be 100%. It also makes sense why the company would kill you and your crew if you don't reach the quota. If you're unable to feed a monster that's locked away on an isolated planet inside of a concrete prison, who knows what exactly it'll do. It also seems like the beast has a specific diet to all things metal. For example, you can sell the sticky note as well as a manual that you find in a closet that teaches you the basic fundamentals of Lethal Company, both of which do not have any metal whatsoever. However, even though they do have some sort of value when you scan them, you won't get anything out of them as if the monster didn't have an appetite to eat it. You're feeding it metal and only metal. That's why you and your crew are going out to collect what seems to be random junk. But why exactly are you feeding it and why is it locked up? Well, it's simple. This is the monster that ate the Golden Planet. The Golden Planet wasn't just a myth. That's what the company that you work for wants you to believe. That's why when trying to search for a Golden Planet on the computer, the file is somehow missing. Maybe the company tried to hide this fact and call it a myth to prevent word of a planet-eating monster from reaching the public. It's easier to hire people that believe that all they're doing is selling scrap than using the scrap to feed a monster that could eat everything in mere seconds. Then there's a vessel underneath the company building. As of right now, it's unclear whether this thing is a ship to go out into space or a submarine to go underwater underneath the building, but I believe it's the former. Sigurd's crew found out about where the company was located due to a traceback of a call, and they realized that because the ship they operate is autopiloted, they would need to find another way to go there. Across all the logs you can find, you can tell that the past crew spent weeks on this job, unlike how you and your crew only spent a few days. So they did have time to build up the vessel whenever they came here to feed their scrap. And also, they do have a good access of scrap to actually make the ship. The "don't tell" phrase etched over the vessel would also make total sense, as if the company found out about this ship, they would without a doubt destroy it to protect themselves. Obviously, since the ship is still relatively intact, other than the lack of power needed to start it, the company itself never found it. So it makes me believe that any higher up in this company will never go to this building. But with Sigurd's crew not being present currently, they either slipped up and died trying to scavenge, or they failed to meet a quota. What I find really interesting is in the last log, the word Desmond is repeated in the title and in the first sentence. Maybe Desmond left the crew or died, and since he was known to be the tech expert, as he was able to hack into the computer so the logs can be written in the first place, they were never fully able to finish building their ship. So with that said, the ultimate question is asked: who is this company, and is what they're doing bad? Of course, every single person that this company hires is led to their own death sooner or later. There's been no recorded person who's been able to come out of this alive, and if they did, the horrors beyond belief found in these research stations would definitely send this sanest person into madness. Like I said, just take a look at the logs of the past crew, and you'll see how quickly they turned insane. But on the other hand, this job is here to prevent God knows what behind this concrete prison from escaping and eating just about everything. If the rumors were true and this thing was able to eat a golden planet of all things, then it is best to keep it at bay and make sure it doesn't get out to eat anything else. But then as you ask those main questions, you're also left with unanswered loose ends, like how did the company find out and capture this monster? How did the company even come into existence? Were these smaller research stations just smaller prisons for these other entities that can also be extremely deadly? These are questions that unfortunately has no answer yet, but I feel like the more this game will be updated and taken out of early access, the more answers we will uncover. As of right now though, we know very little in the grand scheme of things, and I feel like these questions will linger in the back of my head for months to come. But at the very least, we know why we're doing what we're doing, and we know that without having an employment here, life could cease to exist. And that's the deep dark lore of Lethal Company. I love this game. I believe that the gameplay itself is incredibly entertaining and fun, but with this prevalent story that you can slowly uncover the more scrap and logs you find, I feel so much more engaged with this game. But what do you guys think about this lore? Are there any theories that you guys have? Maybe Sigurd and his crew actually did delve into insanity, and the real research being conducted is about the ones who work here. If you guys have anything, or if there's anything else that I missed, leave it down in the comments below. But other than that, I'm gonna end this video here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys like this video, maybe hit that like button and subscribe. I plan on covering more lore of this game when future updates roll out, so expect more of this type of content if you guys do enjoy it. But other than that, I will see you all in a later video. Bye for now.